What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Hopefully you had a good weekend. You got a chance to get out or play some games or really just relax in general. And I know what the biggest topic in the comments are going to be because this seems to have happened over the weekend for me, and that's that I got my hair cut. So I guess feel free to post about that down there as you have been in the other videos. But there was some stuff that happened over the weekend, a lot of gaming stuff actually, some news that was kind of interesting. So let's get started today. Now, there was an interesting article that came out from the Wall Street Journal, and it points to Nintendo being, I guess, more open to mature rated games. Games that they, according to them, wouldn't have been as interested in years ago, if you will. Something like, and what they have said, something like LA Noire, which, believe it or not, out of all the games I'm going to talk about here in a second and list off, that's probably the most mature out of all of them because, well, it deals with more situations that could be deemed as real life compared to something like Doom, where you're fighting space aliens, or let's be realistic, or demons. In that case, you're fighting something that's more fantasy, whereas LA Noire is much closer to home, considering it deals with not everyday situations, real life situations that do happen in obviously any homicide department or anything like that. But they talk about Doom, they talk about LA Noire, they talk about Galgun 2, and they really go on to talk about how Nintendo is trying to break the mold of being considered a kiddie system, in their words, a kids system only. And to a degree, I can understand what they're getting at here, but I don't know if they realize this. Nintendo has had mature rated games on things like the Wii U. I think the biggest one that I can point out right away is something like Bayonetta 2. That is definitely a mature rated game. Obviously, when you look at just the cover, you can tell. And they even did things like partnering up with different magazines like Playboy to push that game out there in marketing. So Nintendo's not new to the mature scene, but I understand that gamers do see it as the kids system first. But we did hear things like Inti Create was saying that, well, Nintendo was much more open to bringing something like Galgun 2 over, whereas they wouldn't have been this receptive in the past. Inti Creates talks about that themselves. So there is a change going on with Nintendo to a degree. I think they understand that they are selling to an audience that is going to buy at all ages. I mean, this is a system that is portable as well as a home console. So in their mind, they're going to sell to the PlayStation user, they're going to sell to the Xbox user, even at this point, the PC user, because it is, I know a lot of people talk about it as a home console, its big appeal is that it's a handheld as well. It's something different from what you have at home. It can go with you. And that is definitely appealing to adults, as I've talked about. I see it very appealing in my lifestyle to have a system that can come with me, whether it's around the house or even on the go. So I appreciate it. I could see why they want to break this mold as just being a kid's device. Make it interesting to people who are older when they're out and they're picking between a PS4, an Xbox One, or a Switch. They won't have to make that determination. Do I get the kids system or do I get the quote-unquote mature adult system? It's something Nintendo is trying to break, and we're going to be curious going forward, because the big thing I think that they need to break this completely, this thought process, get Grand Theft Auto on there. We haven't seen Grand Theft Auto on a Nintendo system since Chinatown Wars on the DS, and that would be a big deal if they get Grand Theft Auto on what is essentially their home console. It's something that is up there with LA Noire, although I believe it or not, I think LA Noire is still more mature than Grand Theft Auto when it comes to the themes and things it deals with. But still, Grand Theft Auto is seen as really the 18 plus, game. It's for the adults pretty much only, although from retail experience, kids play that game a lot. But I'll be curious going forward to see if we see more mature rated games. The biggest thing I would love to see is if Nintendo makes one of their IPs, like a Metroid, for example, as I've seen people talk about, make that a mature rated game. I would love to see that. Let's see something like that. I know some people will be opposed to it at first, but I think a lot of people would get over it and just enjoy it for what it is. Metroid is a game that I think does appeal more to an older audience as opposed to the younger audience that obviously enjoys things like Mario and Zelda and Pokemon. Take a chance with Metroid because I think it could pay off. Next up, let's talk about BlazBlue a little bit. Now, if you don't know, there was that graphic that was shown a while ago for the Nintendo Switch, and down there, really small, was a BlazBlue logo. Something a lot of people have been trying to figure out, what game is this? Because we hadn't heard anything about it, so they at least had an idea that something from that fighting game series was coming over. Looks like it's going to be BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which of course mixes up some of the Persona characters, Persona 4 Arena, and any of the BlazBlue characters, and they're also going to have Under Night and Birth, for example, a couple other different games that are going to be mixed up and basically a fighter. And it's very interesting to see this. That's a game series that I think a lot of people like to be portable. We've seen it on the Vita. It was 60 frames per second on the Vita, by the way. Expect 60 frames per second on the Switch. That game in no way could be below 60 frames. There's no way, it just wouldn't work. So they must have that all ready to roll, ready to figure it out. But it's going to be coming out now on the Switch, PS4, and PC. So you have options, obviously. You can get it on the PC if you want, or you can get it on the Switch if you expect to be kind of moving around. Although, I will say with fighting games, I've played it on the Vita. And I don't like fighting games on handhelds as much. That's my personal preference. I like having a controller for a fighting game, even though I don't play a lot of them, just for the limited ones I play. I definitely want a D-pad. That's something that I think is still hurting this whole situation. I would like to see a Joy-Con come out that you can replace that left Joy-Con with just a solid D-pad. Just give us an option. You know, we don't all have to buy it. Just at least give us the option to have a D-pad on that left Joy-Con. I think one is in the works. I really do. I know they want to push that Pro controller on us, but a $40 Joy-Con with the D-pad would, I think, do wonders for a lot of us who want to play some of these fighting games but don't want to deal with the separate buttons on that left Joy-Con. Either way, we're expecting BlazBlue sometime next year, 2018. No solid date, but I'm sure Arc Systems will let us know when it's ready. Next up, let's talk about South Park. It's out tomorrow. I'm excited for it, as many others are as well, because The Stick of Truth was, I think, a really fun RPG experience. Didn't take itself too seriously. It's more of an arcadey RPG experience that was, I think, a lot easier for people to get through, and it looked exactly like the cartoon, so it was great. It was a lot of fun. The comedy was pretty much spot on for South Park fans. And it looks like we now know a little more about the game's DLC that's coming up. Yes, that's right. It's going to have a season pass. It's going to be a season pass. It's a little on the pricey side. It's $30, but it's going to have a couple of pieces of content there that will also be separated and priced differently. Now, the couple of DLC packs we have here, there are 5 of them in total, called Danger Deck, From Dusk Till Casa Bonita, Bring the Crunch, Relics of Zaron, and Towley. So you're going to have 5 different ones. They're all going to be priced differently, where we have Danger Deck at $5.99, From Dusk Till Casa Bonita at $11.99, Bring the Crunch, $11.99, Relics of Zaron, $4.99, and then the Towley, which is basically an in-game buddy giving tips, which I'm sure that would be hilarious, at $1.99. Going to be pretty much releasing throughout October and then into 2018 as you go down the list. Look at the different DLC packs, see if it's something that's worth it, because the $30 doesn't save you a ton of money. It really doesn't. It's a couple bucks. So if you're more willing to buy them separately and try them out over time as they release, it might be better do that way rather than invest all in and expect yourself to be playing it next year, because you might move on by then. Either way, check them out separately if you get the game, because I'm sure the game is going to be a blast on its own. And if it is that good and it's worth kind of going forward here with the season pass, I might look to just buying them separately instead of really invest the amount of money up front, because who knows what's going to be around at this time in 2018. It's hard to say. Next up, congratulations all around for the Cuphead team. They crossed 1 million units sold. That is a big deal for a game like that. Definitely an indie game that is tough as nails, so it's definitely not catering to anyone who's looking for a casual experience, but in a way I like that, because it's challenging and you learn as you play through it how to do better, and it just forces you to, well, I don't want to say get good at the game, but just get better at the levels you're playing. Big achievement here for Studio MDHR, a team that had to mortgage their house when they wanted to really go all in with this game. They changed it in the beginning from what they originally wanted to what they really wanted, rather than try to push the game out the door early. Microsoft helped them fund it. It's going to only be a Microsoft Xbox One exclusive from what I can tell. It's never going anywhere else. PC as well. But I've already shown you guys, you don't need much to play it. You can probably play it on the laptop you're using right now, or desktop you're using right now to watch this video. So it's worth a buy. It's 20 bucks. I'm so happy for them that they managed to cross 1 million units, because I really do think it is probably the best indie game released this year. I would not be surprised if it wins that award. And honestly, at this point, I fully expect it to. So we've had this conversation about crossplay a lot recently, more so about how Sony doesn't seem interested in crossplay at all. Like, they're just not. But Microsoft and Nintendo seem to be really in the crossplay, along with, I guess, the Steam platform as well, since technically you run a game through it. But the big thing here is there are more games showing up with crossplay, and the latest iteration is Crazy Justice. So the game's very interesting looking. You'll see it right here. It's kind of cel-shaded. It's a third-person style shooter game, but what's interesting is they're going to have single-player elements, but then they're also going to have multiplayer elements that will cross over from the PC, the Xbox One, and the Switch. It's also coming out on the PS4, but it's going to be really just a closed environment for the PlayStation 4, mostly according to them because Sony is just not interested in letting them flip the little toggle switch to let them play together. But it looks like it's going to fall in the same kind of look as, say, Borderlands, for example. So if you enjoyed that look, it's going to be kind of similar to that. I'm going to be very curious how this ends up working out, considering things like frame rate can affect really how the game plays when you're playing against other people. I don't know what the Xbox, I don't know what the Switch frame rates are going to be, but you can be rest assured that the PC frame rate is going to be 60 frames per second. And while it's probably not the biggest deal in the world, it still would affect things. So I'm going to be curious to see how they all perform alongside each other, and at this point, how they all connect and play against each other. That's going to be really the question I think a lot of us are going to be looking forward to. How does it play when an Xbox user interacts with a Switch user? Is it smooth sailing across the board because technically you're having people on different platforms play against each other? That's going to be something that I'll check out and look forward to. Now, it was still on Fig last I checked, and they're looking for $30,000 apparently. About $26,000 has already been funded, and according to them, they should, based on the amount of money they've been getting, should get to that marker by October 19th. And then it's going to release next year, 2018 at some point. No firm release date or beta details or anything, but it looks like a pretty fun game, and I'll at least keep an eye on it because when it comes out, it's going to be under heavy scrutiny. How does this crossplay work? Because it's going to be one of the few games that really has it front and center. Then in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Xbox fall update that is coming. It's already released apparently to insiders, so I would expect it to come out, honestly, probably at this point sometime this week maybe. It's coming though, and there are some interesting updates coming with it. The biggest one that I saw was the ability to use, we talked about this before, but the ability to use any webcam you want, which, yeah, that's pretty much it for the Kinect at that point. But you can pretty much plug in any webcam you want. It's also going to work in Skype on the system, so that means that, hey, you can use any webcam, you can use a really nice one if you want, and then it'll work in Skype and you can make your calls just that way. It's great to see that because then you don't have to buy the overpriced Kinect. You can get something like a $30 webcam and use it for streaming and Skype. They also talked about blocks that let you put your favorite games and your players front and center pretty much right on the front page, which is pretty cool to do. Submenus also be there to let you kind of drop down and dig into more information. There's also going to be something called Xbox Assist that'll give you help with tips and tricks and even troubleshooting help, and it's going to have support on the achievements as well. And they did say that original Xbox backwards compatibility is coming soon. Apparently it's close. Now, we will find out how close when Xbox insiders start saying, hey, I got this update, now I can pop in the, the original, I don't know, brute force or whatever. Brute force, oh man. Brute force, and start playing that, maybe in 4K even, I don't know, it could be interesting. But it's going to be, that's the thing I'm really interested in. Are they going to do things like upscale visuals with anti-aliasing and make them look a lot better? Because I can't imagine original Xbox games are going to look that great on a 4K TV, but if the X has the ability to upscale and then smooth out all the visuals, as well as the Xbox One S for something like 1080p, that would be really interesting to see. So there you go. Sometime this week, you'll be able to use your own webcam and kind of play around with your home screen to make it how you want with the block updates. Should be pretty cool. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me think about any of the stuff we talked about today, whether it is the Nintendo mature rated games. How do you feel there? Do you feel like the Wii U had mature rated games and you just think maybe Nintendo are trying to pull in places like Rockstar, right? Pull Rockstar in and get them on board with Grand Theft Auto, or are they just trying to pull in different companies that weren't sure at the time if they are allowed to release on a Nintendo platform that is viewed as kind of a kid's, like kind of a kid's system? I'm not sure. And also let me know what you think about the whole crossplay thing. Crazy Justice looks cool, and I hope more crossplay games come out. I would like Sony to get on board though, because at that point, we'll kind of be a united front with all gamers, and you can kind of play whatever system you want. That's it for now, guys. I'll see you next time.